Here we have MA2. I've done a little bit before we've started the show. I've set up, obviously I've got a couple of fixtures patched. I've got a bunch of 101s, some 700s, and some Colour Spot 250s. The Colour Spot 250s are there just because we want to try something that doesn't have, obviously, RGB in it. On top of that, we've got just our intensity faders. So all I've got in them is the intensity, so we can do our colors. We're kind of setting up for a busking show today, and that's how we'll do it. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to create our colors, but before then we're actually going to dive slightly off path because we're using 3.1 today, and an issue that has come across many people is in MA3D suddenly there is no longer a join button. We notice that down the bottom here, there's no join button in 3.1. We can see the session that we want to join, in which case this is the last session name I had, but we can't join it. So we can, in fact, fix that issue if we go into MA2 and we now invite the session. So if you go Command, Setup, Network Configuration, and add a 3D and click Add Present, just like you'd add an MPU or 2-port node to the session, you'll have that appear, and we right click on session member, and then when we come back to MA3D we can see that now it's connected, and if I was to bring up some faders on that desk we can see that it works. So that's really it. That's all I really wanted to show you in MA3D. We're running MA3D 3.11, which is the bug fix that was released yesterday. So that should be good. Running the latest version will help, obviously. We documented using layout view with 3.0.0.5 because at that point that was the latest version out, but we'll step up and we'll start using 3.1 now. So we can create our colors in a couple of different ways. We can go via, and I'm actually going to drop that session. We can go and use the auto create ones and just select all three of our fixtures. Or what we can do is you can use a macro. So I've got a macro that I use on a lot of festivals, which looks something like this. It's pretty much grab every single fixture. And I can't remember who gave this to me. It was someone off the MA group. And I've modified it a little bit to now allow RGBW fixtures, because previously RGBW fixtures didn't work. But pretty much it grabs every single fixture, 1 through 5000, sets it at red, sets green and blue at 0 and white at 0, and then stores it and names it as red. So we're going to run that macro and it's going to populate our color palette. So we can click here and it's already done it. So it's gone through all our fixtures and it's created colors. So let's check that it works on the two fixtures that have obviously got CMY. So you can see the little colors are changing color very nicely. And we can even check that the white works, and the video one, which is just an ultraviolet. And that's pretty much it. And for most shows that you're busking, if you don't want to do it with a bunch of sequences, you can just obviously go assign, take red, and put it there if I of course had a layout. So the first thing I'll do is I'll grab a layout pool and we'll create a layout. We don't want to assign that preset anymore. And we're going to call this color. And link selected should work, and then we should be able to just click assign red to there. And if we take it out of setup, we can select fixtures, and then we can click on red and bring up obviously the intensity fader, and they go red. Now in the same vein, what we can do is, if I'm starting a show, I've got a create layout macro which will just bring in all these colors for me, and I'll run that now. And to run that, I of course the first thing it does is create these colors. So I'm going to delete all these presets. So we're going to go delete preset 4.1 through and delete them all and clear them out. The preset deletion command, leaving it with a through command and not entering a final number, can be really nasty. That's bitten me in the past when I've been working on other people's show files and they've hidden show critical ones in the 500s just for other things. Yeah, that was not a fun day. Yeah. So we're going to run my my layout macro and it's going to create the colors. So we're going to click create layout. And apparently I must have double clicked it. There you go, it brings in all my fixtures and it's brought in all the colors as well. So I can click on the red ones. I can click on, let's say, the 700s. And I can make them salmon and give them some intensity. Or I can click on the 100s, 101s and make them green or cyan or so on. These, obviously, to get these to work with the color presets, you have to go through individually and add them in. That is the one benefit of being able to do it through the auto create presets one. It'll create presets for you, but you still got to record over the top of them. I've also set this up to create global presets, which means I can take any fixture. So if I had another RGB fixture further down the track, I can just click on those without having to make them selective. So we'll run with the way that we did it in the tutorial, which was we do them all with sequences so that there's nothing in your programmer. I'm just going to quickly name this. We're going to call this colors. And that's fine. We don't need that anymore. It's still going to be editing. That's fine. So the first thing we need to do is create macros that trigger sequences. But before we can do that, we actually need the sequences. So I normally create one sequence for every fixture type. So in this case, we're going to go and we're going to create one for the 100s. So we run our color one up. We're going to kill the other two. We're going to select the 100s. We're going to put them in red. And we're going to click store. And we're going to put them into a sequence. And we're just going to repeat that process for all our colors that we're using. So we get the general idea. I'm not obviously going to do all the colors because we don't really need them. And we'll do a white one as well. And then we just need to name them. So it'll be red, green, blue, yellow, white. So we click on the Q list aspect and we go red, red, green, blue, yellow, and white. And then we obviously check everything we've done, red, green, blue, yellow, white. And we're going to rename this 101 color. And then we're going to repeat the process for our 700s. So we're going to kill this, turn on our 700s, select them, red, store, green, store, yellow. Setups like this is really good for a repeatable rig. So if you've got a house rig, you can invest a lot of this time in just doing all your presets and having them all set up and ready to go. If you're doing this in a different venue every night, it can become a bit difficult. But you obviously can create a bit of this. I mean, you could easily create a macro that selects, 101 through, or asks you what fixture numbers you want, and it just puts them in red and does a very similar thing to how my color presets are created. So we're going to call this 700 color. And I'm paying close attention not to have any spaces, because when we write our macros, I don't want to have to do an underline or anything. I'm just happy to have them like this, and we'll name them the same. So red, green, oops, red, green, blue, yellow, and white. Lovely. And then we'll check through them as we always do. Check that they work. And now let's start creating our macros. So we might do one. We'll do the color spots as well. We're just going to obviously have to unite some color palettes here. So we'll pull up an old MA1 trick, which is smart. Go to color. Oh, I guess I don't really. Oh no, I can do smart. And we're going to select red. I don't know how red that is. We're going to select deep red, and obviously we're not going to see the gobo wheel, sorry, the color wheel cycle through, but it'll do it. We want to merge it, and then we want probably the closest, so that's sort of a inky blue, but that's fine. We go merge, and then we go dark green. Well, we want probably green. Store, merge. Now we go yellow, store, yellow, merge, and open. And we locate white, which is there. Lovely. And we repeat the process for those as well. Can be a very laborious task having to go through all of them, but I reckon it's worth it depending on the show that you're running, especially if it's a busking show. And you know, I'm a very visual person, so I like having things in front of me, so actually taking the time to do this can be beneficial. And we'll name them the same. Are there any questions so far? It's been fairly straightforward so far, but are there any questions? While I check that everything is good. 575 color. 575. Oh no, they're 250s, aren't they? Are they 250s, or I can't remember what I used. I think I used 250s. Yeah, 250 color. And we check that they work, which they do. I'm not happy with that blue, but it's a 250. What are you going to do? They're never going to be bright anyway if you're putting them beside a 700, although it is a 700 wash. So one question I have been asked is, will the show file be released post-event? Yes, it certainly will. I always try to bundle the show files because I'm creating them anyway, so why not give them out to you guys to play with and mess around. Originally, I had included LED parkans as one of my fixture groups as well, but I didn't have a model in MA3D that gave a proper beam in stage view, so I just dispensed with them. From a programming standpoint on this, it doesn't matter. It's got, you know, it's RGB. The 101s are RGB, so it doesn't really matter. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in... it's going to be interesting, actually. We need to bring in essentially all our image files, which are on our website if you want them. Just got to remember where I've put them. I think I put them in my library already. No, I won't have put them in my library. I will have put them in the 3.0 library. So on our website, there is a downloadable file to obtain the little image swatches that I use, which are quite handy, and they're just little PNG files, and it also tells you where to put them. But that'll actually now be out of date because it says 3.1 and now they've got to go in 3.11, 3.1.1, 3.1.1, yeah, correct. Anyway, we'll come out of this and we'll try that again, and there are all our colours. So we'll import them all, not that I'm going to need them. I'm definitely not going to need, obviously, the black one. And now we've got to write the macros that sit below all of this. So if you've just joined us, you can go back and I've given you an example of how to do the coloring just out of presets, so just out of your preset pool, and now we're going through doing it so it's not sitting in your programmer. So we essentially need to create a bunch of macros that look like this, that go to Q1 executor, and we can call an executor number, or we can call a sequence number. So you could go from sequence, sequence 6, or you can just call the names. So if we go 101s, we'll kill everything off again, and we click on this macro, it's going to make them go red because it's calling the first Q out of this sequence. Now in the little guide, we gave you a couple of options. The guide runs you through the process of calling a sequence. So go to Q1 sequence. Sequence, off the top of my head it's 4, and if you do that they go red, but they don't go, obviously, because we're not triggering this executor. The executor doesn't follow along, which means if you're wanting to quickly click through them, you're not going to advance in the order you want. So after posting the guide, we had someone come back to us and say, look, in the guide, the best way of calling them is calling them by their executor or sequence number, which is what we're doing here. So it's going to Q1 of the executor, which we're calling red, and it's already called red. So what we'll do is we'll create a couple more of these. And that'll be 101 green. So I've just copy and pasting this command line, and I'm just updating it with the Q number I need. Once again, this is something that could be put into a macro really easily. Some people use a sequence per button, but I think it's better to call a Q list, because it also means that you can export these and change the name of the sequence to something that's universal, and then not have to do this again, because as you can see, it absolutely fills up your macro pool, but you got a lot to play with. So we'll quickly flash through them: red, green, blue, yellow, white, and we'll do a couple of the 700s, but the general idea applies to the others anyway. So for this macro, we change it to 700 color, and we're gonna quickly copy that. We're going to go 700 red. I'm only going to do 3 for these. And we'll go 700 blue just to make it easy. Ooh. It's interesting, that's pulled something out of the command line. There we go. And like everything, especially with macros, check that it works before you continue. So 700s, red, green, blue, and it's queuing that queue list, which is nice. Now we need to import it in here. So in the guide that we gave, we said that once you import it in here, you've got to individually select every one and change a couple of options. In 3.1, we've got a bunch of new defaults, so we can do some of the information that we wanted to. So by default, we don't want it to show name, we don't want it to show channel ID, fixture ID doesn't apply to us, and we also want to change this to simple. So when we go, hello. So when we type, we'll type assign, in the command line, hopefully this time, assign macro 1 through 4, and we click in the box, and it's going to give us those, and then we're going to go call that, assign macro, and we want to now do 6 through 8. That's going to probably put them right on top, because when I copy the command line, I don't want to do that. When we did that, of course, the first thing that it did was put them straight on top, because when I recalled the command, it gave us the positions. So we'll zoom to fit so we can look at them, and now we just need to put the colors on top of them. So we'll right click on the red one, we want to go image, icon, images, we want red, green, and blue. Images. And we'll also turn off ID, show name, and type, which I had a feeling we did, but that hasn't really transferred across. This is actually my second time using 3.1. And I've just realized that I haven't brought across the white one, which is a bit annoying. But we'll repeat the process for these 3. And as you can see, you know, if you've got the information in, you've got everything that you require there to do it, it can be really fast. We have some interesting people on the live stream. I think we've got an Australian somewhere amongst them, which is always good. So we'll position these like so, and we'll go assign, grab our white, and just stick it here. Now you can leave some information on if you want, but not every color will obviously allow your names to be read. Such as yellow, you won't be able to see it, but It's nice to keep on. The way I obviously deal with knowing which one triggers which is normally, even if I don't use it, I'll assign the effect, the group there, even if I'm not previewing it, just so then I know what it's doing. Now, the negative of doing the way that we're doing it is that we're locking the colors in to doing them all at once. So if I wanted to do like odds and evens, I would have to create another sequence, or I'd have to create some odd and even cues to do that. But we'll run through quickly. We'll check that, we'll take it out of setup mode. We'll click on red and they'll go red. We'll click these on green, blue, and we can click through and just do them like that. And equally, you can do the same thing for colors or effects. This entire thing spawned off a question someone was asked. One of those crazy 10 feet lighting guys for one of those dance shows had this amazing layout view that consumed all 3 screens of a full size, I think, that just did gobos, color, and all that. And I think that was just using presets. I have a feeling it's just using presets. And, you know, the question was asked, oh, well, how do you do that? And macros is the simplest way of doing it. And in 3.1, they've added a bunch of new macros to do a couple of cool things, which we will go into in a future video as well. But this is pretty much a simple way of doing your coloring of your fixtures. Unfortunately, the text scales, which is a bit annoying. But it's a really easy way of doing colors, especially if you've got operators that don't understand it, like don't understand the way an MA works. You can literally just have a screen of things. Now, one macro I create is, obviously, I mainly work in the corporate world, so we do a lot of band show, so it'll go between busking and program content, and at the end of the busking, I normally want to pull out these colors. Now I can click off, and off here, and bring them back to just white, or what I can do is I can create a macro, oh, excuse me, that simply says off, and I've used the American spelling, which annoys me. And we'll check that works. Yep, which it does. And I'll do another line. I'm really lazy. If there's anything I can copy and paste, I'll normally do it. And with that, I can be, you know, busking away, doing whatever. And then I can click off colors and they go back to white. Or for instance, if I'm using program and executive time, and now we're slowly fading between colors, that off color command will obviously use that fade time. And if you don't want to use program or executive time and you want that slow color, you can always hard code that in. So if we go, I think the command is off time 2. Nope. I love that things that the MA recognizes are putting green. It's so handy. So with our programmer time off, we're going to put obviously colors in, and we're going to click this, and they're going to fade off over 2 seconds, which is lovely. So where are we? How are we going? We're currently sitting at roughly a 30-minute live stream. We've churned through our bit of content very quickly. We've created our groups, and we've created palettes. We've done colors, and yeah. So we're pretty much up to questions at this point. We've made this one fairly short and sweet. The short and sweet ones seem to do a bit better than the longer, you know, 2 hour sections. It's just too much content to go through. You really want to be able to search for the information that you want really quickly, I think. So hopefully there are some questions, but otherwise that's pretty much it. Nice, short, sweet one. How can I apply this concept to movements? So movements... So someone has asked Douglas has asked, how could you apply this concept to movements? Could you at all, or would the macros kind of get a bit funky? Movement of effects or movement presets. Movement presets would work. Movement presets would work, as would effects, especially if you can stick them in a sequence or a cue list like this. So, for example, let's just store our view so we can come back to it. So we're gonna go across to screen 3 just for a sec, and we're gonna bring in our effect pool. So we'll use the circle, and we'll do a bit of both. We'll do circle and a nice pan tilt sign or a pan sign. Bring in stage view again. And our groups. And what we'll do is we'll grab the 100s, because that's what's on currently. We'll make them do an effect, and we'll store them into a button. And then we'll grab our pan sync one. Well, pan sync's a bit pointless. Well, it isn't pointless, but it's not going to do much visually if I don't add a bit of other movement in. Like so. And we're going to store that to the same cue list. What's he going to do there, huh? So we're calling that sequence 7. We're going to call this 101 effects. Not doing a space. And for our options, we're going to turn tracking off. So for our first effect, they're going to be circle, and then they're going to do sign. And we're going to call it thus. So why have I turned tracking off? If I don't turn tracking off, the two effects are going to run. And normally turning tracking off is the most evil thing you can do in the world, because it'll cause nothing but problems. But because we don't want it to be sequential. We want the only thing for this to happen. The only thing for this to happen. Let's try for a third time. The only thing we want in this sequence to happen is exactly what we've just programmed now, which is the effect movement. So if we come across here and we do a nice little copy, so we're going to go move from 16 to 101, and we're going to make this a toggle. Oh, so many button options now. Yeah, I'm not used to all the button options. I just want toggle. Just so I can toggle them on and off. Well, we'll kill the 700s. We don't need them for this example. So in the same way that we've created color ones, we can do it like this. So I can go... Yeah, see how lazy I am? So we've created a circle one, and I'll show you the less dodgy way of doing things. If we click clone, oops, it's in fact not what I wanted to do. If we click copy, we can create a second version and then just update this to Q2. And then just call this wee hello. I'll press scroll lock. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. I'll fix that in a minute. We'll call this pan sign. Ooh. Oh no, press insert, that's right. 101 pan sign. And once again, we'll check that they work. Pan sign. Pan circle. And I'm just going to move my select macro over because we want to do and we're also going to use our nice little thing. Once again, check that it works, which it does. So we're going to call it 101 effects. And then we're just going to click assign. And we'll stick it at the end of this. Put it in setup. And once again, I've not taken across my my off command button, but we'll do that. Assign 101 effects, and we'll also rename that to 101 effects kill. So you could also create two of these off ones, one with an off time, one with no off time, and that would work. So then we can pull all our 101s in a color, make them do a pan sign, kill that, make them do a circle. Hopefully that answers your question. And in a similar way, you could probably call position presets just from a queue list, or well, obviously from a from a preset as well. You can't call an effect directly out of the effects pool unless you've created a selective effect, so one that it knows what fixtures it's using. So when you're creating an effect and you've got, let's say, the 101 selected, if you go take selection, then it creates a selective effect. And if we go clear and do our effects off kill, and also kill our colors, and go back to screen 3, I've got nothing selected, and if I click on pan sign, nothing will happen. But if I click on pan circle twice, it knows what fixtures I want to use. So it essentially becomes a selective preset in the same way that a position or a color or a gobo is selective. I'd like to thank you all very much. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for your question, Douglas. We were able to do a bit more than we planned to do, which is always fantastic, and it's always good to be able to help people. Thanks, guys.